She is caring, she is kind, she's very strong, not just in Reformer Pilates. And one of the things I admire the most about Jessica is that she's very determined and she never gives up. Even when battling seasickness, on the morning of her hen do, nothing could stop Jess from walking onto that party boat. We're still calling it seasickness, okay. Jess is someone who faces life fearlessly, but never too seriously. That was a fun rhyme, guys. She's been a rock in my life, someone who has felt like home wherever we have been in the world, whether alone or together. And can we just have a huge cheers about how absolutely beautiful she looks?
Jess hasn't just been a big part of Jack's life, but also my own. For some 18 years or so. It started with the kind of slightly awkward family barbecues at the Harrison household, where no one really knew what was going on. The flirting from Jack was a bit more like a schoolboy pushing over the girl he fancied in the playground. Pretty smooth. Runs in the family. And we were even more confused when it appeared the feeling was mutual. It was absolutely baffling. We really couldn't work it out. We didn't know whether it was the swish of the brown mop of hair or that weirdly consistent tan. Even in the winter. But whatever it was, we are lucky that we found ourselves here, and we're lucky to welcome Jess into the Harrison family. So without further ado, we'll welcome up my new sister-in-law. Jessica Harrison.
Hello, as you'll know, I'm very shy, so this is going to be very difficult for me. So as it's been said already, hello, my name is Jessica Harrison. And my husband and I would like to thank you all for being here. It means a great deal to have you all in a city that feels like home to me. So thank you to everyone who has travelled, but also to everyone who is local that makes us feel so welcome every time we come back. People often ask, how long have you two been together? To which you usually get kind of a vague, mumbling, awkward answer from the two of us. But what I can say, a little bit to Charlie's story earlier, is I have probably fancied Jack Harrison since I was 13 years old. The aisle today, I definitely still do. So, because it was so enjoyable for me, can we all have a big round of applause for how handsome Jack looks today? Jack can tell you a little bit more about how we met, but it's no secret we've been a part of each other's lives for a very long time. And I think when people talk about getting married and what that means, they often talk about choosing that person that you want to grow old with. And I feel incredibly privileged that we actually chose to grow up together as well. I think one of the big privileges there is when I look out on the groom side of the room today, I actually see lots of my friends and people I now call my family as well, who I've known most of my adult life. So thank you all for welcoming me into your lives. So much so that people think I went to Sedbergh, then to Reading, and that I work in property. And there are probably people in this room that didn't know any of those were true. To my friends, the other loves of my life. Allow me a moment today to thank you for your support, wisdom and humour. They make my life all the more joyful. A big special thank you to my beautiful bridesmaids and maid of honour. I appreciate the support with making both today happen and my hen, which I was going to say for this audience was a really wholesome weekend, but we all know I went to Ibiza, so the secret's out. We can't talk about today without a massive thank you to my parents, and this goes beyond just today. You have raised Annie and I to never see a limit for ourselves, to first and foremost be kind, and have instilled in us a love of travelling and exploring the world, so thank you. The one exception, however, when it came to romance, was I only needed to go down the road. Sure. That's Jack, by the way, in case anybody was talking about that. You are an Iron Man. Listen, guys, he's not just an Iron Man. He has the KOM title for the Calder Latchmere on Strava. I know. Thank you for the laughter, I appreciate it. So, how could I resist? But you are, of course, so much more than your sporting achievements. You are... I wasn't meant to go. You are determined, you're incredibly caring, you're quick to laugh, and you're very curious about the world. So much so that you insist on watching the 10 p.m. news just as I'm trying to go to bed, just in case there are any new headlines. But if I look past that, and the amount of time spent in Lycra, and the fact you only booked your flight to our wedding a week ago, you are pretty much perfect. As a busy person in a frantic world, you help me slow down, relax, and enjoy the present in a way that has always felt like magic. There is nobody I have more fun with, be that exploring a new country or just having a Friday night in, raving or running, often in the same weekend. I could not wish for a better life partner to balance these contradictory hobbies with. I promised in the church earlier today to love you. And I feel so sure of that promise because if I'm really honest with everyone in this room, I haven't just fancied you. I've loved you most of my life already. So, thank you for everything that we have shared already, and if we could all raise a glass to toast everything to come. The schnapps glass, guys, sorry. The schnapps.
Next up, we have, sorry Jack, the main man of the evening, Marky Mark. My adopted northern dad. He's sailed the world. He's adventured up peaks. He even got stuck in the South Pacific on a paradise beach during COVID. It's years later and he's still sticking to the story that he just couldn't leave and come back to lockdown England.
These are just a few of the stories that revolve around Mark, and Jack's come back and told even more. There have been numerous over the years, and he's told them, many of them on your behalf. But honestly, Mark, I wouldn't listen to a word that a lot of people here say. I think you're a really good bloke.
I'm just really over the moon that you haven't offered me out yet. But
So don't worry. Why don't you come on up and you can give her a talk.
Well, of course, that wasn't too brutal, I don't think, was it?
Just hold it back, just under the chin.
Gin and tonic, by the way, if you want to go to the bar. No. Okay. Thank you. So, such a decent chap, really. No, I'd just like to start by saying it's a bit off-piste, actually. Bit off-piste. In life, there are certain moments, and I don't know if there are any other people who walked their daughter down an aisle. And today, walking down that aisle was a really magic moment for me. And will remain with me as probably, I'm quite big on this, my top 3 or 4 moments in my entire life. Of course, when she came into the rear of the church, which many of you didn't see, and I saw her in that dress, and I just thought that I was in some way a minor part of the contribution to this person who was just so angelic and beautiful. And I just couldn't believe my eyes. And of course, everybody knows that you're beautiful, Jessica. But the reality is, we all know that you're beautiful not only on the outside, but more importantly, on the inside. And walking, here to Jessica, and walking down that aisle, I'm there looking at you all, and I get to the front, and it was magical, and I looked up at Jack. And I don't know what's so funny, but I mean, so I looked up at Jack, and the thing about Jack is that I thought, not only is this meant to be, this moment, but it's always meant to be. From the moment I met you 15 years ago in short trousers. And it was absolutely wonderful. Now, as you can imagine, because we're not competitive in the Ormerod household at all, and as Jessica once said to me at 8 years of age, at a sports day, she came middle of the field in the sports day and looked at me, and I thought, well, I feel a bit sorry for her. So I went over and I just to console her, and at 8, bearing in mind, she'd just taken off those really cute little bonnets, with the stretchy thing under the chin. And she looked at me and she said, well, after all, winning isn't everything. And then she looked at me and she said, it's the only thing. Right? It was like a moment out of The Omen, and I didn't sleep one bloody wink that week. It was a very scary moment. Now, over to some serious news. I was just wondering, does anybody know where the defibrillator is? And more importantly, just a comfort factor of the way and how nervous I am coming up here, anybody know how to use it? Anyway, to the serious note, where's Seb, by the way? There you are. Okay, unlike Jessica's 21st, when I had to put my spectacles on, I just wonder if you can do me a favour. Could you just make sure that Max stays quiet and doesn't heckle me? So at Jessica's 21st, when I put these exact spectacles on, and some of you may actually have sympathy with Max, but I'd rather you didn't heckle me on it because it is rather embarrassed, but I do need them to see. So if you just bear with me for a moment. Thanks, Max.
All right, Shelton.
So, to the serious stuff. There are so many familiar faces. Of course, I mentioned Seb and Max from Jessica's 21st. But there are people here that go back to kindergarten, to 18th birthday parties. Many people in this room that have known both Jessica and Jack for so long. And I'd just like to say, having had you all grown up with Jess and Jack over the years, be it school, university, or more recently in London, I would like to thank you all for joining us and celebrating today on this special day. It's really, really incredible to watch. Sadly, Jessica's parents, grandparents, Alec and June, were unable to join us, but our thoughts are with them, and they've always been immensely proud of Jess and smitten with her, but absolutely loved Jack. But let's face it, who wouldn't? This speech is more of a love letter of sorts to Jessica and Jack to keep. When writing a letter, I've often found that you can be honest and open, and I only hope that my words are accepted for what they are, which is genuine and honest. Almost 34 years ago, this month in actual fact, Maria and I were also married in Stockholm. So this city holds a really close and dear heart to us, and it's very special in our family's lives. We spend more or less every Christmas here, and Easter, and a number of months in the summer. As many of you will know, I'm Jessica's father, if you haven't figured that out by now. You've got bigger problems than I have, I'll tell you. So here lies the perfect opportunity to thank my soulmate, Maria, for being such a wonderful mother over the years. Your kindness, understated, did I say understated, values, warmth, caring nature, thankfully resonates through both our girls. It's a tribute and reflection of the dedication and time you gave to raising our family. Fortunately for them, they've inherited your brains, logic, but more importantly, your Scandinavian good looks. Now, I do know what many of you are thinking right now. How did I pull Maria with these glasses? And yes, you are right. I am batting way above my weight, and as you can see, I'm quite a chunky chap. To the point that we met in Australia in Alice Springs 35 years ago, and the lady who sang with her family, Joran, one of her closest friends, happened to be with her on the night that we met. And when Maria came back from the UK 3 days, now I'm from Manchester, you don't get the opportunity to date somebody from Scandinavia 5 years younger than you in Manchester very often, right? So, right, when Maria came back and she said to her closest friend at the time, she said, "Yeah, I'm getting married, you whore." So, who is it that you're getting married to? And Maria goes, remember the English guy in Alice Springs? The tubby one. And that's the thing about Swedes as opposed to Norwegians. They're extremely honest. Anyway, moving on. When you first find out that you're going to be a father. And some of you in the room may have experienced this. You immediately think, oh my goodness, I hope everything's going to be okay and the baby's going to be healthy. What more? However, when you're blessed with a daughter, the first thought is, I hope she finds someone who will love and care for her as much in life as we do. And if you talk to anybody who has a daughter, it really is the first thing that comes into your head. I don't know what it is. Jessica, there's probably only one thing in life that's really important to get right. And that's to find your soulmate. The rest is just noise in the world along the way. It's the only thing you need in life. You really nailed it with Jack. He's perfect, with great values, and thankfully already part of our family for many years. When Jess was a little girl, we used to watch the movie Finding Nemo. And in the movie, there's a saying which goes, how do you know when you know? Well, you just know, you know. It just happens in a blink of an eye, in the most unexpected places when you're not even looking. It can even happen outside Blockbusters in Cheshire 15 years ago. I guess that's the real magic of love in life. Mum and I are so happy for you both. Jack, you're just so comfy together. It really is a joy to watch. As Barry White once said, it's called love. Jessica was born in downtown Dallas. She's a Texan. She's not American. There is a difference. Therefore, is also always referred to in our house as our little Jessie Lou. When visiting my parents' farm in the country, age 2, Jessie Lou declares to my mother, Grandma June, I don't like it here. It's dirty. So to all you who have lived with Jess, I guess this explains her total obsession with tidying up, cleaning the kitchen, and the importance of hygiene. So Jack, you're not the first person to be asked to clean down the top and put your coffee cup away. Believe you me. As many of you know, it's not hard to absolutely adore Jess. But as a father and mother, you couldn't begin to imagine the love and pleasure we've been blessed with over the years. Seeing the journey, hearing all about Jessica's experiences along the way. Jess, it helps. You are such an hilarious storyteller. A master of accents and impressions. We are instantly transported to the moment and characters in all of your life's encounters. Jess, you're interesting, spirited, don't follow the crowds. You've rebelled, sung Hey Jude with the entire school in Latin prayers in Westminster Abbey. You breezed into the notorious Berlin club, Berghain. With Laura, I might add. Like it was a Costa coffee. You owned it. Jess, you're curious, reading furiously everything and anything, and continuing the family obsession with exploring foreign parts. Travelled to almost 70 countries, many independently, and off the radar like Myanmar, Madagascar. You've met some fascinating people along the way. and learn to respect and embrace different cultures from all environments. Jess, you dance to your own tune. A nonconformist, brave, confident, always have several options going on in life at any one time. Had a lot of fun. Jack, you need to tell her about the Norwegian at this stage. You've had a lot of fun at Bristol and Westminster. You met some extraordinary friends, many here today. Probably your biggest gift in life are your great friends for life. And after all, there are no acquaintances in this room. How lucky you and Jack are to have all these friends make the huge effort and travel with you to be here today. However, we all need a special friend in the world. And to all the Ormerod family, it's Annika, by a country mile. The angelic one who seems to breeze through life almost with a halo above her head, just like Mormor, Maria's mother. It's wonderful as a parent to know how close you two sisters have been throughout life. Really, two peas in a pod, inseparable. It's wonderful. People might say you're lucky in life, but you're not. You've created your own life, Jess, independently. You're a strong woman, but most of all, a really nice, kind, warm, and genuine person. And guess what? That's all you need to be in life. I really love everything about you, Jessica, and I'm incredibly proud and humbled at times to think you are our daughter. You've even banked a relatively successful career with the odd promotion or two, having attended what could only be described as an inner-city London school. Few things in life have created the pride and joy and respect I had when you gained a place at Westminster School. Just ask any of my friends here today. I was euphoric. I must have bored them senseless. The same could be said about Morgan Stanley. You must have your mother's brains after all. I guess what I'm really saying is we all love spending time with you, Jess. There's never a dull moment. Life is full on. And I guess I'm speaking for many here today. Jess, you're just a lovely person. Really great fun to be around. It's not hard as a father to be proud and happy your daughter is marrying or married Jack Harrison. Who wouldn't be? He's played rugby for Sedbergh 15s. He's gained a full England cap, played at Twickenham, and got a great education and interesting, successful career. Completed a full Ironman in just over 10 hours. Arse. Cycled over 500 kilometres in a day. And is dedicated just so he can keep up with our little Jessie Lou. Jack, you are irritatingly handsome. So annoyingly well-mannered. With some wonderful qualities. Most important are your values and integrity. You're very calm, smart, considered, thoughtful, and a great listener, which might come in handy and useful over the next few years. Jack, you're a credit to your parents, Victoria and Roger. They must be very proud of you, and as we all are, blessed to welcome you into our family. Jess, you found your true soulmate in life. It's actually probably the only thing that matters for a happy life. You both so obviously love each other. You're attentive, tactile, a joy to watch over the past 15 years, and observing you growing up together. I'm really happy for you, Jack. I really am. It's a tradition to try and share some advice for the future at this point. So here goes with my best intentions and a few years' experience. Most important, try and dance slowly once a day, together. Take extra long cuddles and learn to laugh at yourself through the good and on occasion during the bad times. And remember, it's just life. It's not you. Don't try and change anything or each other, and avoid becoming boring and predictable in life. Continue to do what makes you happy and avoid caring about what other people think or doing the safe things in life. Be controversial. Shake it up. If you're not scared at some point once in a year, you're not trying hard enough. Educate your children to the best of your means and travel to show them it's a big world out there with a lot of different cultures and approaches to life. Don't give them stuff, but love, experiences, and time. All that remains to be said is I really love you, Jessie Lou. There couldn't even ever be a prouder father in life to see you grow up and turn into this wonderful, kind, caring, and strong, independent woman. You're a very special person, Jess, and extremely fortunate to be able to share the life with Jack. Please be upstanding. Let us raise a glass. Let us raise a glass to the happy soulmates in life, Jessica and Jack Harrison. Thank you. Sorry to overrun.
Now, for those of you worried about Jack's speech, he has rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed over and over and over again. And he even, he came to my room last night and he gave it one final run through. And honestly, I was straight asleep. So you're absolutely in good hands here.
As long as I've ever had a Jess in my life, there's been a Jack in hers. Jack Attack, as I fondly name him. Sorry, Jack. I absolutely adored getting to know Jack more and more over all of the years. Even if his idea of a good time is an Iron Man, I know that's the third time that's come up tonight. My kind of marathon is Real Housewives season 1 to 18. We all have our own pleasures, Jack. He is the luckiest man in the room tonight because he is married to the Jess Harrison. Now let's give a very big cheer to Jack rather than Jess.
Best of luck.
Thank you, Charlie, for those very kind and brotherly words. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of regretting having you as the MC right now. But don't worry, I'm under strict instructions. You know, I'll keep my speech to 10 minutes, and I won't be taking my extra time. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my wife and I, we would like to thank you all so much for being here and celebrating our special day together. Your presence honestly means the world to us, and we're truly grateful for the love and support that you've shown to us over the many, 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 many years. I know this isn't the easiest or the cheapest place to get to, so we are both incredibly grateful for the effort that you've all made to be here. Both Jess and I very much appreciate it, and we hope that we've thrown a Swedish/English wedding that you all won't forget, because we certainly won't. Now, before I get going with some thank yous, we have some loved ones who unfortunately couldn't be here today. In particular, Jess's grandma and Maria's mum, Mormor. My grandparents, Ken, Chris and Angela. They're all very, extremely generous, had big influences on our lives, and I know they would have loved to be here today. I also would like to make a special mention to Mark's parents, Alec and June, who I know that send their love from the Lake District and are probably waiting for a few pictures to be sent. So with that in mind, would you all like to raise a glass and join me in a toast to absent friends and family? So, events like today don't just happen overnight, like I thought they did. Planning this wedding has at some times felt like we've had a second job. Well, I say we, but in reality, Jess and Maria have taken the whole workload and they have meticulously planned this wedding, from the initial scoping of 10 different venues, to the dinner that we had last night with the bridal party, to the fika that everyone here is invited to tomorrow, and every tiny detail in between. I was merely issued with a strict 5-minute breakdown of the entire day and said I had 10 minutes of limelight, so here it is. But no, I'd really like to say a big thank you to both of you for organising an unforgettable weekend, making our dream wedding come true. With that in mind, I'd also like to express our gratitude to both Jess's parents, Mark and Maria, my dad, Roger, my mum, Victoria, for their generous contributions towards today, because without which, you'll all be paying for your own booze. So, to my new parents-in-law. Ever since those early days, you've really welcomed me into the family with open arms, and I'm incredibly grateful for the kindness, the generosity, and the love that you've shown both Jess and me. Mark, here we go. I've always admired your outlook on the world, and I remember you telling me, it was early on and it was after a couple of glasses of red, that you don't need much stuff in life, and the only things that really matter are family, friends, and experiences. Well, you have a fantastic and loving family, which I'm honoured to join. Great friends, some of whom are here today. And I don't think anyone can argue that you're lacking experiences. Having travelled to some 114 countries, climbed the North Col of Everest, and sailed across the Pacific. So, if your own criteria is anything to go by, you're doing a pretty good job. One thing I would say is, the ginger beard that you always come back with sticks it around for way too long. Maria. There we go. Tack för att du välkomne med till din svenska familj. To everyone that doesn't speak Swedish, let's just pretend that was pretty good. To everyone that does, keep quiet. But really, don't worry. But really, I've loved spending more and more time over here over the past few years and embracing your Swedish traditions, many of which seem to revolve around food. Cinnamon buns, saffron buns, cardamom buns, meatballs, crayfish, all great. Really love them, happy to have more. Fermented herring, or as you like to call it, as I like to call it, rotten herring, is certainly an acquired taste and one I will not be having at Christmas. Trust me, you can smell it from a mile off.
1.5 kilometers.
Next, I'd like to thank my own family. So, family circumstances are that Mum isn't actually here today, but I'd like to make a special mention for her unwavering love, support, and the hours spent driving up and down the M6 to watch me play rugby. I know it's hard to believe, but I wasn't actually the easiest child growing up. As Charlie has very kindly pointed out, actually, academia wasn't really my thing. But thanks to hours sat at the kitchen table, a lot of tears, Mum's enduring perseverance, which eventually just turned into her doing my homework for me, I managed to just about scrape through. So, although Mum isn't here, thank you for the endless love and encouragement, without which I genuinely don't believe I'd be where I am today. Dad. Where to start? You've always been my go-to guy for advice, whether it's life decisions, career moves, or just recommending the next fell race to run. You are honestly a font of knowledge, and you've always been there to offer me your wisdom. For that, I am incredibly grateful. But you haven't only been there for the serious stuff. You've taught me that every once in a while, being the person who really gets the party going is a skill to be cherished. Whether that's jumping on a table to give an entire restaurant a very unwanted rendition of The Boxer, or throwing some questionable moves on the dance floor with your tie wrapped around your head. I'm not sure I'll ever be quite as brazen as you, but you've shown me there's a skill in both making others laugh and causing your children excruciating embarrassment. A skill I'm very much hoping is hereditary. Now, for the bridesmaids, you'll look absolutely wonderful today. Charlie is single. Charlie is single. Thank you so much for helping Jess get ready this morning and getting her to the church on time. As we all know, for all of Jess's qualities, and more of those later, being on time is certainly not one of them. So, at church this afternoon, I'd mentally prepared to be standing up there for a good half an hour before thoughts of being jilted at the altar came into my head. So honestly, thank you very much for getting her there on time and not wrecking my nerves. Annie, simply, you've been an absolutely amazing maid of honour. You've managed to keep Jess calm and sane over the last few days, and that's something I'm very, very grateful for. From what I've heard, you've also managed to plan a very good hen do in Ibiza. I can only imagine how stressful it must have been to organise a hen do for the queen of organisation herself. But from what I've heard, you've done a fantastic job. I was actually told not to bring up the hen, but thankfully she made it through today's booze cruise without being seasick. We still have time for a snooze on the bathroom floor. To my ushers, Charlie, Coral, Ted, Harry, Hector. Great job ushering, guys. I'm pretty sure you led all the guys out the wrong entrance of the church. Jess doesn't know that yet. You're only human, to be fair. You've all been there with me through life, whether it's childhood, school, university, and now in London. And I really want to thank you for your friendship, your support over the years. It's been invaluable through this journey, and I'm incredibly lucky to have you all by my side, so thank you very much. A special mention must go to my brother Charlie, although I am regretting writing this now. The Toastmaster for this evening, who, as I'm sure you've all noticed, is probably actually the younger, smaller, less good-looking, single brother. Time for some own bag. Although I will give him, he is definitely louder and maybe a little bit funnier. We've certainly had our ups and downs growing up, including a few broken bones, mainly on your behalf. I want to let you know that your friendship honestly means the world to me, and I'll always be there for you. Now, moving on to my best man, Mr. Watson. Ow! For those of you that don't know, he is a criminal defence solicitor and has acted for some of the most infamous people around. So I'm hoping this is really the first and last time that he gets to represent me. I also implore everyone to please bear this in mind when he gets up at later, because I can highly doubt you can trust anything he's about to say. I will say, however, a huge thank you for organising the stag. Your military precision kept the lads in line, and obviously there was a strict 10 p.m. curfew. We've had many adventures over the years, from climbing Mont Blanc, sailing in the BBR. Carl was also involved in that. Yeah. We've had many adventures over the years, from climbing Mont Blanc to sailing in the BVIs, and I know I can always rely on you to blindly sign up to any hideous endurance event without a second thought. These are just the tip of the iceberg, and I know there are many, many more to be made. And finally, to the star of the show, the gorgeous, new Mrs. Harrison. I think we can all agree that you look absolutely stunning today. Now, you know I'm not the best at speaking from the heart, but if there's ever a time to do it, it's now. So, when I first met you outside Blockbusters in 2006, yes, that is 18 years ago, it was because our parents had bumped into each other in the street. I can honestly say I was completely blown away by your beauty. So much so, I didn't say a word to you, just stared at the ground in sheer panic. It took a few more months to pass before our second meeting at Scott Garlick's birthday party. Toff Cricket Club, great venue. We caught eyes across the dance floor, and you finally plucked up the courage to come and talk to me. Butterflies don't even begin to describe what I was feeling. And after a few minutes of chatting, again, you asked me for my number. Honestly, I genuinely could not believe my luck. Best day of my life. That was, That was until you followed up that request with, "It's not for me, it's for my friend who fancies you." Absolutely devastated. Embarrassed for the rest of the evening, I avoided you. However, to my surprise, I think it must have been a ploy. Because a few days later, you messaged me, and an evening at Pizza Express for our first date was booked in. Ever since those early days, we've always been in each other's lives, in one way or another. We've grown up with each other, and as the excerpt from Captain Corelli's Mandolin that Izzy so beautifully read today in church, our roots are so entwined that it's inconceivable to me that we should ever part ways, and I really do believe that. You are the kindest, most thoughtful and generous person I know, and I'm extremely lucky to have you by my side in this adventure we call life. You're not afraid to stand up for what you believe in, even if that means disagreeing with the Telegraph. And I'm constantly amazed at how you excel at so much in life. Whether that's your career, charitable work, running, yoga, wedding planning, spinning, Pilates, tarot card reading. Honestly, Jess, the list of talents is absolutely endless. We just need to add driving to that list. Jess, you're able to make me laugh like no one else can. You cheer me up like no one else can. And you even put up with my slightly obsessive cycling habit.
Slightly?
Calm down. Polly, get back in your box. Jess, you are my absolute everything. I feel so incredibly blessed to call you my wife. I love you more than words can express, and I feel so lucky that we're going to spend the rest of our lives together. I really do love you, Jess. So on that note, could everyone please raise their glasses and join me in a toast to the most amazing woman I've ever had the privilege of meeting, to my new wife, to Jess.
As Jack alluded to, obviously my mum isn't here, but she did actually give me something to read out. So she said that I was definitely there when Jack came into the world. That I remember. But I was also there when the first chapter of Jack and Jessica's story began. Outside Blockbuster on Princess Street, recurring theme. It was a colpo di fulmine moment. Thanks, Mum. Italian. A lightning strike that even teenage nonchalance couldn't disguise. I've been privileged to witness their story develop through teenage, university, gap years, and then on to working in London. They've navigated life beautifully, with kindness, consideration, respect, and also a maturity that belied their years. And they've never rushed into things, that's for sure. May this next chapter of your lives be exceptional. We'll raise a glass to you both and wish you huge happiness always. With all my love, Mum. So on to more important matters for those interested in the update. Yeah. Oh, hold on. No, it's just O2. I love Swedish weddings. That was close. Now, we've had Jess's eloquent as ever opening statement. We've had the eccentric storytelling bard of Mark. We've had the surprisingly emotional words of Jack. So, there's only one person who can really cock it up now. Best of luck, Watson. Watson is incredibly intelligent. I'm sure his speech will be somewhere between a hilarious, close to the bone Ricky Gervais sketch and a barrister's a solicitor's closing argument. Do they do those?
As a barrister.
After you.
Sorry, as a barrister, Watson.
Everyone down, shots have been fired.
This is the speech I've been looking forward to the most all night. It's actually nothing to do with what you say. I'm just so glad I can finally have a proper drink. So this is the end of listening to me and Charlie.
And you know what? Those sea legs are really taking hold.
Charlie, that was my drink.
Oops.
If you want to get us shots tonight, you know now what we look like. We're both single.
We got lucky. I usually lead with the tongue.
5 out of 10.
Jason!
Charlie, having seen that move there, I suspect a future case. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. But having heard all of those nice things said about Jack, I think my task is to restore balance to the conversation. Only a few weeks ago, I received a warning from Jess that this speech must be above board. However, I knew that I could ignore that warning and sleep soundly, because let's face it, Jack is a pretty safe bloke. As many will attest to, Jack, or Snaky Jack as he was known at university, has a habit of slithering out of situations, even when the police turn up at his own front door. When preparing for this speech, I put the feelers out for trusted individuals who could hopefully offer some content for Jack, and I received the following responses. I'll have a think. Tough one. Let me get back to you. No response. Having heard Jess speak earlier, I had to take a red pen to my words. And it made me reflect. There's a good reason why back in England we don't allow women to speak at weddings. So here goes. Beginnings. I first met Jack back in 2006 when we both attended what was amusingly called a rugby scholarship day. I say amusingly because, as with most things at Sedbergh, there was nothing scholarly about it. In fact, had there been, we would almost certainly have failed. I recall Jack well. Freckled, short, no change there, and wearing a striking black and yellow striped blazer. He was the classic schoolboy, smartly dressed, achievement badges galore on the lapel, that sort of thing. He was confident, friendly, and pretty handy on the rugby field. But it wasn't until a few months later that we both turned up in the very same boarding house that we became good friends. And although he might look all right now, his first nickname was Minging. Which in hindsight was perhaps a little harsh. But despite the name, he was well liked and good at most things. His only real weakness was spelling, which unfortunately is a problem that still persists. Luckily, working in property, he manages to get away with it, because no one notices. Mark, there's a good reason why Jack is a good listener. It's because the cogs aren't working quite so fast. When he wasn't studying or throwing a ball around, Jack would split his time between the common room and the local nearby heavily wooded area. To what end is something of a mystery. Jack, as we all know, likes to keep his cards close to his chest. But presumably you were just enjoying the local wildlife. That might have been coral, actually.
I was part of the conservation team. So.
No. Where Jack became particularly animated was on his return from the summer holidays after one of the family excursions to the United States for what became known as Cowboy Camp. On his return from Cowboy Camp, Jack would recount tales of sleeping out under the stars, of line dancing, and of course the number of cowgirls that he had met. And I don't recall any of them being called Jessie Lou. In fact, had the course of history been different, at least half of us gathered here today would have been celebrating Jack's wedding in Montana. I suppose Jess being born in Texas was the next best thing. And so after a good time at school, Jack went on to university at Reading, where he appears to have discovered sunbeds and teeth whitening. Jack vehemently denies the latter, but for someone with such exceptionally white teeth, one does wonder how he is able to maintain them.
Charcoal toothpaste.
Of course. Reading also appears to be the place where Jack's interest in obscure and often mediocre music emerged. together with a fondness for strange clothes and bucket hats. I do know that you will always be a Swiftie at heart. Besides perfecting his grooming habits, Snaky Jack, as he then was, got stuck into all that Reading had to offer and emerged with a great set of mates, all of whom, or many of whom, are here today. In fact, there are so many surveyors here that this evening is a RICS accredited wedding. Personality. This is a very short section. Easygoing, laid back, relaxed. These are words and phrases which I'm sure we sum up Jack fairly well. But it wasn't always the case, especially if you speak to Charlie. Sitting down with Charlie, as I have done, he is able to recall several examples ranging from simple sibling rivalry to attempted murder. From broken collarbones to gravitational experiments from upstairs windows, to ping pong as a blood sport. Such was their competitive nature. It's true that back in the day, Charlie were something like Knutsford's Cain and Abel. I actually have it on good authority that when Charlie went up to Sedbergh a year after Jack, he was allocated to a different boarding house. Such was the animosity/rivalry between the two brothers. But beyond that, he's a pretty chilled guy. He's a lover, not a fighter. And perhaps no better way to illustrate that than an actual fight. Perhaps Jack's only fight. I shall set the scene. It was the year of our Lord, 2009. Winter. On a barren northern rugby field, the Sedbergh 15 did battle with the lesser men of Stonyhurst. One of whom is here today. The primary sources are conflicted as to the precise cause of unauthorized violence. However, all are agreed that a mass rumble took place in what has become termed by historians as the fight. But as bones were broken and the bodies mounted, the sources recalled that there was a certain absence on the Brown side. Indeed, instead of demonstrating any kind of valor, Jack was busy avoiding the melee. Rather like a medieval priest, Jack busied himself on the sidelines, no doubt tending to the wounded, and likely preserving what was by that point his no longer minging face. The competitive streak, however, is still there, and it's no better illustrated than through sport. Indeed, what Jack lacks in personality, he makes up for an abundance in sport. And it would be remiss of me not to concede that he is pretty good at most of them. Whether it's rugby, cricket, running, hockey, tennis, skiing, squash, you name it. He's done it, and he's done it well. And it's right that his competitive nature permeates throughout each one. It therefore must have come as a disappointment when, at the age of 16, Jack made it into the England A rugby team, otherwise known as England B. You know you're scraping the barrel when playing for England is a line of attack. A neat example of Jack's eagerness to outperform others was when, some 10 years ago, and he's already mentioned this unsurprisingly, was when he successfully summited Mont Blanc. Who was this? Out of our depth and knowing it would be a tough few days, I made sure to pack some Kendal mint cake. Coral, who was also there, if you haven't already appreciated that, turned up with a John Mayer t-shirt and what appeared to be a children's rucksack. Jack, however, not to be outdone, made sure to bring his own ice axe. But aside from playing for England and climbing extremely dangerous, and I repeat that, extremely dangerous alpine mountains, there is no better example of Jack's competitive streak, and I'm very sorry to mention this, cycling. What began as a throwaway suggestion a few years ago that Jack buy a bike, Jack has now morphed, like Frankenstein's monster, into something unrecognizable and disturbing. Indeed, Jack's relationship with cycling is something akin to a mental health condition. And you definitely know that's the case when even the priest is taking the piss out of you. Whether it's a short ride or a Grand Fondo, you can count on it that Jack will be champing at the bit for bigger, faster, harder rides, and laying waste to anyone who dares challenge his supremacy. Gentle cycling weekends away are more akin to Tour de France stages, where Jack takes a sadistic pride in making sure that every day is as hard and as tortuous as possible, whilst at the same time ensuring he has each time to beat seared onto his eyelids. It's therefore little surprise that you have failed to convert Jess to your passion. As for Jess, let's face it, this is probably deserving of its own speech, but there is simply not enough time to summarise it all. But it's a very happy thing that I've known Jess, or Harrison's bird, as she was originally known, since the beginning. When exactly that beginning was, although Jack did attempt to answer it earlier, is lost in the sands of time. But to provide a reference point, and this may in fact be wrong, I think Gordon Brown was the Prime Minister. Although I think 2006, maybe Blair. Either way, it's a bloody long time ago. Whenever it was, you have for so long been a part of each other's years that I struggle to recall the BJ years. Just to be clear, that's the period before Jess. Intelligent, witty, insightful, and good-looking, you are everything that Jack is not. But I do understand from Jack that hidden under that dress is a pair of trousers. And I say that Jack is all the better off as a result. But after all of these years of dating, it does lead one to think that you took the principle of try before you buy a little too literally. Regardless, just to make sure that Jess really was the one, did you test her over a romantic 23-kilometre fell race before finally popping the question? Having been reminded of just how much you were punching, rumour has it that when you finally did ask Jess to marry you, you went down not on one knee, but two. But almost immediately having asked Jess to marry you, did Jess flee the country to our near neighbour, Australia? And who could have blamed her, no doubt contemplating life with a man who was at one time the second best fly half in England. On a more cuddly note, you once remarked to me on the backseat of a cab that Jess was your best friend. I know, it was a weird and disturbing example of you sharing your feelings. I think that was some 8 years ago, so quite what you've been doing in the meantime is beyond me. Either way, you really must love her because you went to watch Taylor Swift with her and not me. My only concern is that most blokes take up cycling to get away from their wives. Jack, of course, is well ahead of the curve. And so I suppose if he ever takes up golf, then you know the game is up. And so to the future, and I confess that I have zero experience in this regard. Jack, marriage is rather like a long-distance bike ride. It's bloody hard work. Or so I've heard. There will be ups and there will be downs. There'll be some fixable punctures along the way. Some days you'll be flying, other days it will be a slog. But it will be a great ride. Just make sure just don't forget the lube. In terms of the end game, I accept that the cycling metaphor only gets us so far, so I will borrow from a phrase I recently read on the side of a coffee mug. Marriage is basically asking each other what you want for dinner until one of you dies. But at least those dinners will be carbohydrate and protein rich, healthy fats only. Other than that, it seems that your future will consist of heart rate and VO2 max analysis, FTP tests, whatever those are, and erectile dysfunction. The evidence is overwhelming for cyclists. Speaking of older age afflictions, Roger. Few will have failed to notice your Strava fitness exploits these last few years. Well, they say that the apple does not fall far from the tree. Jess, and I'm glad you're positioned here today, I'm no clairvoyant. The future is staring right back at you. All jokes aside, Jack, you have, in the many years I have known you, been a thoroughly decent chap and a loyal and trusted friend, and I'm sorry to have breached that trust so profoundly this evening. You are enormously kind, unassuming, well-liked, honest, and good fun, and I know that there are so many people gathered here this evening who would readily second that opinion. All I can say is hold hard to those characteristics, and you won't go far wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please be upstanding and raise your glasses to the happy couple.
Okay, ja, det är sittande, de får stå. Okay, so in Swedish, you need to learn basically 3 words. The first is punchen, and that is what you're going to be drinking. And then you're going to say it's coming. So it's punchen kommer. Look, it's coming here beautifully chilled. And then skål, skål, skål. And it's, if any of you listen to opera, it's a very famous opera song that the melody is to, from Elvira Madigan. So we're going to start. All the bridesmaids have been practicing all day. And we've got some sweat there. So right, here we go. I'm crazy doing this. I can't believe I'm here doing it, but... Punchen kommer, giv oss svar. Punchen kommer, i vår sal. Oh, you're brilliant. When did you practice? Skål för glada minnen. Skål för varje vår. Punchen kommer. Skål, skål, skål. Raj, 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 raj. Punschen kommer, giv oss var, raj, 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 raj. Glasen kommer, punschen kommer, i vår sång. Skål för glada minnen, skål för varje vår. Punschen kommer, skål, skål, skål! Skål everybody, enjoy your punch.